Good evening and welcome. Thank you for attending our virtual open house. The purpose of our open house is to provide information on the draft 2020 Solid Waste Management Plan. We appreciate you participating in our online format. This is a new format for us, so we ask your patience as we navigate through it and learn what works for us. For a few logistics, so welcome. The microphones and cameras are turned off by default. A recording of this presentation will be posted online following the presentation in the next few days. We will also provide answers to questions that might be presented tonight online. And you can find more information at the link reflected on the slide, and that also allows you to submit online comments to us, which we will take into consideration as we review the solid waste management plan. And this full solid waste management plan is available at that site as well. For some additional logistics on how to use Zoom, please use the Q&A function to submit questions or ask questions or request for technical assistance. We do have April Lee, who is available to us to provide assistance to us as we go through if we have any technical issues. We will address questions at the end of the presentation. Depending on the volume of those questions, we may address the more generalized ones, those that would address the broader audience interests. If we don't get to your specific questions, as mentioned previously, we will address those online or post those online following the presentation. We appreciate your questions and comments. They are important to us. There are 5 ways to submit them to us. You can submit them online, email, phone, in person, or via mail. And information as to where to submit those is available on our website. So with that, I will introduce who you'll be hearing from tonight. I am Karen Wiese. I'm the interim solid waste manager at Thurston County. I've been with the county for 4 years, and prior to that, I have been in administration and business operations for over 30 years in both the private and the public sectors. With that, I'll turn it over to Wendy Mifflin, who could give her introduction.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Karen. My name is Wendy Mifflin, and I'm coming at you from smoky Eastern Washington this evening. I'm going to date myself a little bit and tell you that I have over 30 years of solid waste experience. For the last 4 years, I have been working for HDR as a senior solid waste planner. And as part of that job, I have developed solid and moderate risk waste management plans, operational plans, facility capital assessment plans, and infrastructure management plans for multiple counties in Washington, Alaska, and Colorado. I was also the solid waste division manager for Yakima County for 16 years, and prior to that, the Kittitas County Solid Waste Division Director.
Good evening, my name is April Lee. I am the Outreach Supervisor here at Thurston County Public Works. I'm here to help you with any technical issues you have tonight. Simply use that Q&A if you have problems with your audio or submitting a question, and I will be sure to assist you. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, I will provide a roadmap for our presentation this evening. So I will be providing a background of our solid waste management plan. That will be the what, why, and who was involved in the development of the solid waste management plan. And then I will provide an overview of our current solid waste management system in Thurston County. At that point, Wendy will give you a project overview. She was the project facilitator for this project, and she's, as you've heard, the subject matter expert. So she will go over the objectives and process of development and implementation of the plan, our mission and goals, and then she will provide the overview of the 5-year recommended strategies that are part of the solid waste management plan. And then I will follow Wendy up with the completion of the presentation, which will involve a review of the 6-year capital facilities improvement plan. Okay, so the purpose of the plan is to provide a long-range, forward-thinking plan to guide the management of solid waste in Thurston County for the next 6 to 20 years. It is the result of collaboration between participating cities, industry representatives, and subject matter experts who came together with their knowledge and perspectives to create this plan. It is a balanced solid waste management plan reflective of the values of our community and the region. The role of participating cities and the town in developing this plan is critical, as they will ultimately agree to sign on to this plan through the adoption of interlocal agreements. This plan replaces our current solid waste management plan, which was finalized in 2009. And with that, we take a moment to gratefully acknowledge and thank the participants in the development of this plan. This slide shows the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, who spent countless hours and a lot of commitment and hard work to put this plan together. This also included county staff, including representatives from the Public Health and Social Services Environmental Health Division and the Department of Ecology representatives. So as I mentioned, this is an effort of many months of time and attention and discussions from those people, and we are very grateful for it. So a solid waste management plan is required by the Revised Code of Washington. 70A.205 requires local government to maintain current solid waste management plans. And this plan is developed to recommend strategies for 21 through 26 and fulfills the requirements of this plan, but it also looks forward to ensure that sufficient processing and disposal options are available for at least the next 20 years or through 2041. There are several elements required to local plans, and they include an inventory and description of solid waste handling facilities, including any deficiencies in meeting the current needs, a projected 20-year needs for solid waste handling facilities, a program for the development of solid waste handling facilities that addresses laws and regulations, takes into account the comprehensive land use plans of participating jurisdictions, and contains a 6-year construction and capital acquisition program and financing for both capital costs and operating costs. A program for monitoring and control, or to avoid or mitigate the negative impacts of improper waste handling, an inventory and description of solid waste collection operations and needs within each jurisdiction, a comprehensive waste reduction and recycling element, an assessment of the plan's impact on the costs of solid waste collection, and finally, a review of potential areas that meet state criteria for land disposal facilities. So with that very comprehensive list of what's required in solid waste management plans, I'll talk about our current solid waste system. So this graphic demonstrates our current management system in Thurston County, and as you can see, begins with an emphasis on prevention and contamination reduction. So we're focused on educating and preventing what goes into the waste stream. Of the items that are put into the waste stream, you can see on the far left in the blue, garbage and construction and demolition debris. Their ultimate destination is the landfill, and in Thurston County, our landfill is Roosevelt Landfill that is in Klickitat County, Washington. The green area, the yard waste and organics, those are composted, and in Thurston County, Silver Strings Organics in Rainier, Washington is our facility for composting. And on the right-hand side, the recyclables and household hazardous waste, those end up at end markets that can reuse or use the products, or they get recycled into other products. And for Thurston County, the majority of our recyclables go to Pioneer Recycling Services in Tacoma. Others do go to specialty markets, and the household hazardous waste that is collected is properly disposed of according to the type of waste. In Thurston County, we have 3 solid waste facility sites that are owned by the county. Our largest is the Waste and Recovery Center in Hawks Prairie, and they provide complete services at that location: commercial hauling, self-hauling, recyclables, organics, and the collection of household hazardous waste at the Hazo House, our state-of-the-art facility located at the WARC. We took over 230 tons of waste across the scales the past 2 years. We also have 2 drop box sites in our South County, the Rainier and Rochester drop boxes, and they provide waste disposal options for self-haul garbage and recycling, which is then taken to the WARC for processing. This is an aerial view of our Waste and Recovery Center in Hawks Prairie. And as we mentioned, this is the largest facility that we have. As you can see, we have a transfer building that houses the tipping floor where commercial haulers dispose of their waste. And there also the waste that is generated is loaded into trucks for disposal. You can see that we have separate areas for organics, for self-haul, for the residential customers to drop their solid waste. And we have recycling, which includes paper, cardboard, glass, aluminum, plastic, and styrofoam. Note that Thurston County does not have an active landfill. We did and closed it in 2000. And now the dog park and the closed loop park are located on top of the site of that closed landfill. We do have a 30-year commitment to maintain and regulate that landfill, so we are in that active stage of maintenance at this point. And then you can see the intercity transit park, the park and ride leases a portion of this facility. Here's an aerial version of our Rainier and Rochester drop box. These sites are growing significantly. We had 18% growth in Rainier over the last 2 years with a 38% increase in customers. And in Rochester, we had a 19% growth with a 32% increase in customers. The waste that's generated at these sites represents about 3% of our total waste processed, but about 13.3% of our total customers. This facility is not owned by the county. This is the Roosevelt Regional Landfill. This site is owned and operated by Republic Disposal, and they are our current contractor for our transfer station operations, transport, and disposal services. Thurston County sent about 200,000 tons to the landfill last year. It is taken from the WARC site by it's trucked to the rail yard in Centralia, and then from Centralia it's loaded onto a train and it's taken down to the Roosevelt landfill. This is a slide of our projected population growth. These are based on estimates provided by the Washington Office of Financial Management. So Thurston County is a growing county. Between 2010 to 2019, we had over a 13% growth in population, and that growth is anticipated to continue into the foreseeable future. As you can see, we expect about 11% growth by 2025, and by 2040, almost 30% growth. That equates to about 85,000 population increase over that time frame. So our area is expected to grow, and we're preparing to meet that growth. This slide provides our waste generation projections based on that population growth. Again, estimates provided by the Office of Financial Management in our state. So the lighter blue bar is our 2017 waste quantities that were generated. And so we had about 45% of recyclable materials generated in 2017 and about 54% in municipal solid waste. So again, using those projected population increases, by 2025, we expect an increase of 14% in waste generated, and by 2040, about a 34% increase in waste. To prepare for that growth, we will be looking at capital facility upgrades, which are planned and which we will talk about at the conclusion of this presentation. This pie chart is based on a waste composition study that was performed in 2014. And we did a 4-season sort to evaluate our disposed material. We do have another waste composition study planned for 2022. These waste composition studies provide us a valuable roadmap that helps us focus our plans and efforts on the individual commodities that make up our disposal stream. And so, for example, in this case, we can look at organics at 20% of the waste stream, or paper as the waste stream, and focus our efforts on education and outreach for those, going back to the slide that talked about how we handle our waste in Thurston County, and that focus on prevention and contamination reduction in our waste stream. So with that, I will turn it over to Wendy, who will start with our project overview.
Thank you, Karen. So as part of the solid waste management plan process, we established project objectives going in. And those included, next slide, please. Those included developing the solid waste management plan to meet the regulatory requirements that included recommended strategies for a 6-year period, and also considering long-term requirements over a 20-year planning horizon. This plan is a cooperative effort with the city and county partners located in Thurston County. And of course, as Karen stated before, the Thurston County SWAC played an integral role in developing the Thurston County Solid Waste Management Plan. Plan for needed infrastructure over the 6 and 20-year terms for materials management, policy making, and funding were also considered as project objectives, and also to provide for long-term material management for municipal solid waste recyclables, including funding. And then revisiting the plan for updates based on regulatory changes and county and city needs. For the 2020 plan update process, the process began in March of this year for information gathering and review of regulatory changes. And there had been a number of regulatory changes since the last plan was adopted by all the city and county partners. The plan is updated with consideration for population growth, increasing material tonnages, facility upgrades, but also harmonizing county and regional education programs with an eye towards enhancing systems sustainability. Strategies were developed and reviewed and also evaluated, and a complete stakeholder review, of which this virtual open house is part of the process. Plan approval and adoption by the county and cities and ecology, and then implementation of the plan will complete the 2020 plan update process. So our next section will go into some of the missions and goals for the solid waste management plan. The Solid Waste Advisory Committee and the county established a mission statement, which you will see on your screen, which is developed to meet the needs of Thurston County and the cities and towns. And that mission statement is that Thurston County and the participating jurisdictions provide citizens with efficient, reliable, and affordable solid waste collection, handling, recycling, and disposal services in order to improve the quality of life while protecting and preserving human health, environmental quality, and natural resources. So it's a pretty comprehensive mission statement for a solid waste management plan. In addition to the mission statement, goals were established to be utilized as part of the planning process. And the first goal is infrastructure and system. And infrastructure and system needs during the planning period were considered as part of the goal-making process. The goals are to manage waste in the county cost effectively through the priorities of waste reduction, reuse, and recycling, and to improve the overall system efficiency, both collection and transfer. To build infrastructure that's in compliance with the rules and regulations that promote recycling and diversion, but meet the needs of changing materials in the system. And as you'll know, materials types have been constantly changing over the last few years, and the county has had to adapt as those materials have changed and moved into their system for handling. And last of all, for infrastructure and system, to build infrastructure in compliance with the rules and regulations and promote recycling and diversion. So our next goal is sustainability, and that's to provide equitable and sustainable funding considering societal and environmental impacts. Consider sustainability at all levels, including climate, air, water, land, and economic development and sustainable funding as part of the plan. Also to support community development for less wasteful options for sustainable building and food waste. Our next goal is for education, and that's to encourage system participants to make responsible choices, including considering climate change impacts. Encouraging residents of Thurston County to make responsible consumption and disposal choices while considering climate change impacts and consideration for waste generation and disposal options. And then our last goal in the plan is to look at outside influences that support state and industry priorities and initiatives while incorporating the principles of equity of social justice. And those goals include supporting the State of Washington Department of Ecology Moving Beyond Waste and Toxics document, supporting legislation that increases recycling and waste diversion, and incorporate equity of social justice principles when planning for the Thurston County solid waste system. So now we'll move into an overview of the 5-year recommended strategies in the plan. The Thurston County Solid Waste Management Plan consists of 8 chapters with recommendations in chapters 4 through 7. Chapters 1 and 2 consist of background information and waste stream and population projections. And chapter 8 provides the implementation plan with recommendation, costs, and a timeline. As we go through the recommendations in this section, please keep in mind that they are abbreviated, and complete recommendations, including the implementation schedule, can be found in Chapter 8 of the draft Thurston County Solid Waste Management Plan, which you can find online on the county website for the Solid Waste Division. So the first recommendation is for collection, transfer, and disposal. And this is in Chapter 3 of the Solid Waste Management Plan, which discusses existing programs and facilities, identifies relevant planning issues, and develops and evaluates alternative strategies for municipal solid waste collection, transfer, and disposal. So some of those recommendations include the Waste and Recovery Center, Rainier, and Rochester drop box sites will comprise the designated disposal system for the county. Proposed improvements to the disposal system will be implemented to ensure the continued service levels in a fiscally responsible manner. And Karen will discuss these at the end of the recommendation presentation. These make up the county's 6-year capital improvement plan. And then also under collection, transfer, and disposal, to issue a request for proposal for operations, transportation, and disposal for materials collected at the county disposal sites. So under recommendations for education and outreach, you can find these in Chapter 4 of the Solid Waste Management Plan, which discusses existing education and outreach programs related to solid waste management and identifies relevant planning issues and evaluates alternative education and outreach strategies that are developed to potentially improve programs, and also recommends a recycling contamination reduction and outreach program. So recommendations in this section include refreshing the educational materials and harmonizing messaging, continue the school waste reduction and recycling strategies The county has a large school presentation program and works hand in hand with the schools in Thurston County. And then to provide educational campaigns for food waste prevention, multifamily homes, businesses, and construction and demolition debris diversion. So the CROP, which is the Contamination Reduction and Outreach Plan, can be found in Appendix I on the Thurston County website, where you can also find the plan, and was developed through a cooperative effort between Thurston County, the City of Olympia, and Waste Connections. In 2019, House Bill 1543 was approved for sustainable recycling, and it was signed by the governor and directed Ecology to develop a state recycling, contamination, and outreach plan by July 2020, and local jurisdictions could create their own CROP or adopt the state CROP by July 2021. The county has chosen to develop their own CROP, and recommendations included in that CROP are to implement a waste composition study, to standardize metrics for measurement of contamination and economic modeling, to develop and conduct a countywide outreach messaging campaign, and to work together in the county with regional partners to implement the CROP. So it's going to be quite an outreach campaign when it kicks off. The next set of recommendations revolve around waste reduction, recycling, and organics. And these can be found in Chapter 5 of the plan, which discusses existing waste reduction, reuse, and recycling programs, organics, and climate change. And some of the recommendations coming out of that chapter include adopting a tiered designated materials list of recyclable materials to be collected not only at the curb, but through other programs such as the drop boxes at the county-owned facilities and also within the City of Olympia. To focus the efforts for waste reduction, recycling, and organics on organics, glass, mixed paper, and because those represent the significant tonnage in waste disposed, as Karen showed you with the 2014 waste composition study that was completed. And then also to conduct a waste composition study to set a baseline for monitoring recyclables disposed in the future, to support private sector forums for materials exchange, and to support the Thurston County Climate Adaptation Plan, which targets reduction in landfill waste, transportation, recycling, and improved handling methods. The next set of recommendations are for special waste. You can find those in Chapter 6 of the plan, which discusses management of special waste. And special wastes are those wastes identified that have similarities to normal municipal solid waste and can be managed in a similar manner with additional precautions or special handling, such as asbestos, appliances, pharmaceuticals, tires, moderate risk waste, mattresses, animal carcasses, etc. So recommendations coming out of that chapter are to continue the cooperative effort for handling special waste that exists in Thurston County between the Solid Waste Division, Public Health and Social Services, and the Department of Ecology. Those three groups work hand in hand to handle special wastes in the county as they come through the facilities. And then to promote proper handling of construction and demolition debris, including reuse and recycling and disposal. And then to work with the County Emergency Management Division to implement the after action report as part of the debris management plan. And then the last chapter in the plan is administration, financing, enforcement. This is Chapter 7 in the plan, not the last chapter, but Chapter 7, which considers system funding strategies, adoption of a flow control ordinance, and cooperative handling of municipal solid waste through flow control ordinances with their partners. Some of the recommendations include adopting a countywide flow control ordinance for municipal solid waste, that will guarantee consistent service and funding levels for the solid waste division, adopting interlocal agreements between the county and cities to provide for solid waste management planning and flow control, to centralize solid waste data with accessibility for the public, and then to conduct a rate study to review costs for solid waste continued operations. So back to you, Karen.
Thank you, Wendy. So this is a slide of our draft 6-year capital facilities plan. This is a part of our overall capital improvement plan, which is at the county, which is ultimately approved by the Board of Commissioners. And what you can see here is that we have a robust plan for capital improvements to support our solid waste management plan and infrastructure and growth needs, as well as to properly maintain our closed landfill, which is required for 30 years after closure, which I mentioned earlier. So specific projects that are on here, we have in 2021 planned improvements for the Rainier and Rochester drop box sites, and that is in alignment with the growth that we talked about earlier in this presentation. Those will potentially include scales and scale houses, which will improve the efficiency of disposal of solid waste, and there will also be some improvements to the staff facilities there for their safety and health. There are investments in the flare system in 2021 that should be completed, and that system is to manage the methane gas emissions that associated with our closed landfill, which are decreasing over time. We have SCADA system replacement and improvements planned for completion in 2021. SCADA stands for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System. And this allows for improved coordination, control, and monitoring of our infrastructure systems at the Waste and Recovery Center, such as our pumps and groundwater monitoring systems. We have a comprehensive pump system upgrade and improvement program planned in 2023. And this will tie into and coordinate with our SCADA system. And this is essential for monitoring and managing our groundwater system. We have several security, technology, and site improvements planned for implementation through 2022. And this is a multi-phase project. It includes cameras, site fencing, security access controls, and an important upgrade to our waste station and customer billing software. The next grouping is a set of projects planned for our transfer station itself, and includes a complete overhaul of our compactor in 2023. And the compactor is the very expensive and major piece of equipment that is used for compacting our solid waste to load onto trailers for disposal. In 2024, you can see a significant project for the public tipping area with new scales and scales houses. And this is a definite growth related activity. This will involve potentially a reconfigured site at the WARC, at the Waste and Recovery Center, for better use of the space and to accommodate growth needs, and should include improved facilities for operations at the Waste and Recovery Center. So with that, we have reached the conclusion of our presentation. And there's a reminder of the website for more information, including submitting comments and for the full solid waste management plan. So I will pause, and April, if I can have you address any comments or questions that have been, questions that have been submitted during the presentation.
We haven't had any comments or any questions submitted throughout the presentation.
Okay. Well, good. We hope that means that we've answered your questions and comments as we've gone through this presentation, but we'll pause for just a few seconds longer to see if anybody has anything that they would like us to address, and if not, we'll conclude the presentation. Okay, with that, I will say thank you to everyone who has attended this evening's presentation. Thank you very much to Wendy Mifflin for her expertise and leadership and excellent job of explaining the solid waste management plan, and to April for all of her patience and technical expertise in providing this for everyone. So again, thank you everyone, and good evening.